7 bone-chilling true small-town horror stories that haunt your dreams. If you are in a sleepy little town where shadows whispered and secrets crawled, a darkness lay just beneath the surface. Townsfolk moved about their daily routines, oblivious to the chilling tales lurking just out of sight. What if you could hear the ghostly whispers and shivering shrieks echoing through the night? What if this very town held memories too terrifying to speak? A haunted old factory, a girl who vanished without a trace, a home that swallows sorrow. These stories aren't just urban legends, they pulse with life. The old Weller factory, long abandoned, loomed like a decaying beast at the edge of town. Rust peeled away from the walls like rotting skin, and the windows were blackened eyes, staring into the abyss of the night. They say, on nights when the wind howled just right, you could hear faint cries echoing from within, chilling blood like a winter frost. The townspeople knew better than to approach. Kids dared each other to step inside, but none ever came back the same. They carried with them stories of dark shadows that followed them home, creeping around their beds, and whispering in their ears. Meanwhile, there was the case of Marissa, the cheerful girl who just vanished one ordinary Tuesday afternoon. She was last seen skipping down Cedar Street, where the sidewalk cracked and split under the weight of many untold secrets. The entire town searched for her, tearing through the woods, calling her name. But the woods only answered with an eerie silence. Months later, when the leaves turned fiery orange, they found her backpack, splattered with mud next to an old oak tree, a sinister reminder of what lurked beneath the cheerful exterior of their town. Things began to spiral even more out of control in that small community. Folks started to feel like they were being watched. Late-night streetlights flickered like they were trying to keep some long-buried horror at bay. And the nightmares. Oh, the nightmares. Dreams of a faceless figure stalking each of their darkest secrets. They woke up in sweaty terror, hearts racing, desperate to shake off the feeling that they were being hunted. Did the spirits of the lost linger, or was it something far worse? Hey, before we continue with this amazing story, I need to give you an important heads up. Many subscribers have reported that YouTube unsubscribed them without warning. Take a quick second to check the red button below to make sure you're still subscribed to the channel. I'd hate for you to miss any of the exclusive content coming soon. And while you're there, smash that like button, it really helps me out with the algorithm. Oh, and tell me in the comments, which city are you watching from? I love getting to know every amazing person who's part of this community. Your participation makes all the difference. Let's connect. As tales of these strange happenings spread, the air crackled with tension. People side-eyed their neighbors, distrust creeping into their hearts. They locked their doors tighter at night, and whispers filled the air of a sinister figure walking the streets, but the true terror hadn't yet revealed itself. There were murmurs that the very ground they walked upon held a darkness that clawed at their sanity, waiting for the perfect moment to strike. But what could explain it all? How deep did the roots of this mystery go? Was it merely the manifestation of fear, or was there something far more sinister at hand? The townspeople could only hold their breath, waiting for the darkness to unfold, as they stood on the precipice of an unknown horror. What awaited them in the shadows? Rumors spread like wildfire through the town, rumors of dark figures shrouded in shadows, prowling the streets when the moon hung low. Everyone was on edge, jumping at the slightest sound. The air felt thick with anticipation, as if the very walls around them were holding their breath, waiting. One night, Sarah, a single mother who lived on the outskirts, decided she couldn't take it anymore. The whispers had invaded her thoughts, clawing at her sanity. She gathered her courage and stepped outside, feeling the biting wind against her skin. With her heart pounding, she made her way toward the Weller factory, drawn by the haunting calls that seeped from its depths like blood from a wound. Each step echoed in the silence. The streetlights flickered nervously overhead, casting dancing shadows across the cracked pavement. She could feel the weight of the darkness pressing down, surrounding her. As she neared the factory, she stood frozen at the gate, an impending sense of doom churning in her stomach. In the stillness, she noticed movement, a flicker of dark shapes darting between the jagged outlines of old machinery. Fear coursed through her veins, but the pull was too strong. Mustering her last bit of resolve, she pushed the gate open and stepped inside, each creak echoing like a warning. Inside, the air turned colder, and silence wrapped around her like a suffocating blanket. Shadows clung to her, whispering of secrets and sorrow. She strained her ears to hear, and then she caught a distant cry, a voice that made her heart race. It was faint but unmistakable, echoing between the rusted walls, calling her deeper into the unknown. Marissa. It was the name that haunted every parent throughout the town. The sound rippled through the factory like a ghost drifting between the past and the present. Uncertainty clawed at her mind. Was it the missing girl? A trick of her imagination? Or was something worse waiting for its next victim? As she crossed the threshold into the main area, beams of moonlight spilled through the broken windows, casting long shadows that twisted and churned. The cries grew louder, more desperate, sounding almost human. It felt like a plea for help, echoing from the bowels of the factory. Marissa! She shouted back, her voice cracking through the oppressive air. She rushed forward, heart in throat, driven by something only a mother could understand. But with each step, the air thickened, and the shadows shifted in ways that made her skin prickle. The cries turned into frantic sobs, now mingled with laughter that chilled her to the bone. She felt eyes everywhere, watching, waiting. Each minute felt like an eternity, and she turned to leave, but something yanked at her fingers of ice brushed her spine. She spun around, breathless, but the factory was empty. The laughter faded, replaced by a deafening silence. Suddenly, a chilling whisper echoed throughout the cavernous space, sending her heart racing. You shouldn't have come here. Sarah stumbled back, terror surging through her as she realized she wasn't alone. The floor beneath her quaked, and the factory seemed to breathe, alive with an ancient horror that clawed at her sanity. Panic surged as shadows materialized, twisting into shapes that lurked just out of reach. With every ounce of strength, she ran, heart pounding in her chest. But did she just unleash something unholy? What had she awakened? As she burst through the door, gasping for breath, the factory behind her loomed larger in her mind, a dark heart ready to consume. And as she looked back, something moved within the darkness behind the windows, a figure, pale and familiar, with a twisted smile, beckoning her to return. The weight of secrets rested on her shoulders, heavy and suffocating. What had she unwittingly called forth? In that moment, she realized the town held more than just pain and whispers. It cradled an ancient evil, waiting for the next curious soul to wander into its grasp. What would Sarah do next? Sarah stumbled away from the factory, the chill of the night sinking into her bones. The air felt electric, pulsing with a dark energy that tugged at her. She could not shake the feeling of eyes watching her, the shadows shifting ominously behind her. What had just happened? She pressed her palm against her chest, feeling her heart race as panic clawed at her throat. Each hurried step away was accompanied by a cacophony of whispers, fragments of dark laughter nipping at her heels, echoing that dreaded name. Marissa. The moon hung low, casting an eerie glow, illuminating the path back home. She didn't dare look back, fearing that whatever had beckoned her would rise to claim her. But the images danced in her mind, vivid and unrelenting. The dark figure with a twisted smile felt imprinted in her memory. She had to tell someone, to warn them, but who could she trust in a town riddled with terror? Reaching her small house, she fumbled with the lock, hands shaking. It clicked open, and she rushed inside, slamming the door behind her. She leaned against it, heart hammering, the sound reverberating in the silence. "Mom!" A small voice called from the bedroom. Her daughter, Lily, peeked out, sleepy-eyed and curious. The sight of her child sent a wave of relief crashing over her. Sarah knelt, pulling Lily into a tight embrace. "Everything's okay, Pumpkin," she whispered, though her own voice quivered. But deep down, she feared this was just the calm before a storm. Lily's brow furrowed. "You look scared." "It's nothing." Sarah hesitated, searching for the truth that wouldn't send her daughter into panic. "Just a long night." But that night, sleep eluded her. Shadows danced on the walls, and every creak of the old house sent her heart into overdrive. The whispers from the factory returned, wrapping around her like a sinister shroud, and she began to question her decision to venture there. How had she been drawn into its depths? Hours later, filled with dread and exhaustion, she slipped into a troubled sleep, only to be jolted awake by a soft, familiar voice. "Mom," it was Lily again, but this time, something felt off. The child stood at the foot of the bed, her figure eerily still. Moonlight illuminated her features, yet there was a sadness in her eyes that chilled Sarah to the bone. "What is it, sweetie?" Sarah croaked, her heart racing once more. "I saw her, Mommy." The words twisted in Sarah's gut, threatening to unravel her. "Who?" "Marissa, she's in the factory. She said to tell you to come back." A chill ran down Sarah's spine, and she shot out of bed, the shadows pressing closer. "No. You can't listen to that." Lily's gaze turned hollow, and a smile creased her face that was too wide, too unnerving. "She said it's only a game." Sarah's blood turned to ice. This wasn't her daughter standing before her. This was something darker, something she had unknowingly awakened. The factory was no longer just a haunting relic, it seeped its poison into her home, reaching for the ones she loved. "Stay back!" Sarah shouted, backing away. But Lily continued to move closer, her small hands reaching out, fingers curling as if trying to pull her into a web of shadows. That in a flash of instinct, Sarah scrambled for the door, eyes darting to the darkness that loomed beyond the threshold. The factory was calling, and if she didn't face it now, it would consume everything she held dear. As she reached the door, a whisper cut through the night, inviting her back. "You can save her. Come play." Would Sarah dare return? Would she confront the nightmares in the factory to save her child, or would she lose them both in the end? The question echoed in her mind, heavy and oppressive, as she stood at the brink of her fate, teetering between light and shadow. Sarah tore open the door, heart pounding like a war drum in her ears. Outside, the cold night wrapped around her like a suffocating blanket. She glanced back at her daughter. No, not her daughter anymore. The creature standing in her bedroom with hollow eyes and that sinister smile was a vessel for something dark, and it would not wait. "Lily!" She shouted, but the word was swallowed by the night. The shadows behind her were alive, twitching and writhing as if they, too, wanted to escape the factory's grasp. The factory loomed ahead, its silhouette stark against the pale moonlight, a gaping mouth of dread that seemed to beckon to her. It knew her sorrow, her fears, and now it craved her desperation. Sarah's breath came in quick, shallow gasps as she stepped forward, pulled by an unseen force. Every step felt like traversing through molasses, as if the air thickened with each inch. "Mommy, she wants you." The hollow voice of her daughter echoed in her mind, chilling her to the bone. Panic clawed at her gut. No matter how much she wanted to protect Lily, the truth danced tantalizingly close. Her daughter might already be lost. The factory doors creaked open, welcoming her like an old friend. Her instincts screamed at her to turn back, to flee, but the image of Lily's shadowed figure made her heart twist with terror. She took a breath, steadying herself, and stepped inside. The air within was heavy and stale, sending a shiver down her spine. Flickering lights overhead cast restless shadows, adding to the already unnerving atmosphere. As the door behind her shut with a resounding thud, an overwhelming silence enveloped her, and she felt it a weight bearing down on her soul. "Marissa," she whispered into the dark, hoping the mere sound of the name would silence the chaos swirling around her. But the walls absorbed her voice, mocking her hesitation. "Welcome back," a voice purred, echoing off the worn bricks. It slithered into her ears, wrapping itself around her thoughts. The darkness began to pulse, the shadows thickening as if alive. "I've missed you." Sarah's blood ran cold as the figure emerged from the depths, the twisted smile etched on its face. It moved with a grace that was both mesmerizing and terrifying, each step calculated and precise. The visage was undeniably Marissa's, yet something bone-chilling flickered in her eyes, an ancient malice hidden beneath a pretty mask. "You came back to play," Marissa said, her words dripped with a sweetness that exploded with intent. "Are you ready for the game?" No, Sarah shook her head, backing away. It's my daughter, she's in danger. Lily? Marissa's eyes sparkled with delight, and a laugh, soft yet full of malice, floated through the air like poison. Oh, but she's merely a pawn, just like you. A game requires sacrifices. And you came all this way, didn't you? To save her. Stop it. Sarah shouted, fear morphing into fiery resolve. What did you do to her? A smile crept across Marissa's face, but her eyes darkened. The question is, what will you do to save her? As darkness clung to Sarah tighter, blocking her exit, the realization hit her like a freight train. The choice she had to make was about to be unveiled. The factory wasn't just a backdrop for nightmares, it was the core of a twisted game, one that would shatter everything she held dear. What if I play? Sarah's heart raced, each heartbeat echoing dread. What would that mean? Marissa leaned closer, her breath cool against Sarah's skin. Oh, darling, you'll find out soon enough. It will be so much fun. Just as the shadows lunged, Sarah felt a surge of desperation. She couldn't lose Lily. No matter the cost. But what if the price was her own soul? In that moment, the lights flickered, the whispers grew louder, and as she prepared to dive deeper into the abyss to save her daughter, the ground shifted beneath her, pulling her into the darkness once more. What awaited her in the depths? Would she find a way to rescue Lily, or was she already too late? The eerie silence stretched thin, leaving only the promise of pain and revelation in the air. Before the darkness enveloped Sarah completely, a flash of white light erupted, momentarily blinding her. It pierced through the oppressive shadows like a beacon, revealing twisted machinery and rusted tools scattered across the factory floor. The light flickered out as quickly as it came, leaving her shrouded once more in a dense blackness that felt almost alive. Where am I? She gasped, her voice trembling, threading through the void. Panic clawed at her throat, tightening like a noose. Welcome to the game. Marissa's sultry voice echoed around her, wrapping around Sarah's very essence like an intoxicating drug. Everything you fear is here. Are you ready to face it? A surge of panic threatened to overwhelm her as the shadows coalesced, swirling into grotesque shapes that taunted her with familiar faces. Memories, regrets, and whispers of her past hovered, teasing her with glimpses of what she had tried to forget. No. Stay away. She yelled, swatting at the apparitions, her heart racing. Each ghostly figure was a reflection of her guilt, reminders of times when she had failed others or failed to protect Lily. But the overwhelming noise roared louder, drowning out her cries. The factory trembled beneath her feet, and she stumbled, desperately trying to steady herself as the walls contracted and expanded like a living entity. Shadows wriggled around her ankles, tugging at her with insidious fingers, threatening to pull her deeper into their abyss. Suddenly, a piercing wail shattered the echoes, a familiar, frantic scream that cut through the void. Mommy! Help me! Lily! Sarah shouted, her heart lurching. Her daughter's voice sparked a flicker of hope against the encroaching darkness. She forced herself to focus, to breathe, battling against the fear that threatened to consume her. Tell me, she faltered, her resolve wavering but still strong. Tell me how to save her. Marissa appeared before her, hovering like a specter, radiating malevolence. The rules are simple, darling. Show me what you're willing to sacrifice. Show me your love. What does that even mean? Sarah struggled to keep her voice steady, but the shadows pulsed with anticipation, eager to consume any doubt. I'll do anything. Just tell me. Marissa's smile widened, teeth glinting like daggers in the dark. You must face your greatest fear. Only then can you save your little girl. A tide of images crashed against Sarah's mind, drowning in the depths of an ocean, losing Lily in a crowded place, the face of a man who had once taken everything from her. Each fear felt like a weight, dragging her down, threatening to break her spirit. The shadows writhed closer, whispering secrets that clawed at her sanity. As each fear escalated, Sarah's heart raced. No. I am not afraid of you. She roared back, surprising even herself. Then take your first step, Marissa challenged, her voice dripping with delight. The clock is ticking, dear. With a trembling breath, Sarah pressed deeper into the darkness, fighting against the screams trapped within her soul. Her mind was a blur of vulnerability, guilt, and unending love for her daughter. Each step felt like wading through syrup, every heartbeat echoing her resolve. Lily! She cried again, voice rising defiantly. The shadows hissed, recoiling briefly before gathering again, hanging thick in the air. Just as she felt the confidence surge within her, something shifted. A wave of ice-cold fear washed over her, creeping into her bones. She glimpsed a monstrous figure emerging from the dark, a monstrous amalgamation of all her fears. The world shook around her, and the echoes of her name, twisted and darkened, rang through the factory like a funeral bell. Sarah's pulse quickened, terror coiling within her. Was she strong enough to face this horror? Could she unravel the threads of fate and save her daughter? As the grotesque figure lunged forward, a thought pierced the shadow: what if fear was the very thing that could shatter her, or perhaps become her weapon? With each moment hanging precariously, Sarah braced herself, ready to confront the darkness. Or was it already too late? When the shadows whispered her name once again, she shivered, knowing she was on the brink. Would she break, or would she fight? In that exact moment, she understood the true stakes of the game, and the weight of her choices pressed down like a crushing wave. The monstrous figure surged toward her, a twisting mass of shadow and echoing regrets. Sarah flinched, instinctively raising her arms as if to shield herself from the dark energy that pulsated with every breath she took. She could see its eyes now, two piercing orbs that seemed to absorb every ounce of light. "Face me!" it howled, a voice thick with malice and twisted familiarity. It resonated with every unsaid word, every moment she had tried to bury. An icy grip tightened around her heart as Sarah recognized the strength of her greatest fear. "Lily!" She shouted again, the name tearing from her throat like a prayer, a summons desperately hoping to reach her daughter. The shadows shifted, and for a fleeting moment, Sarah saw Lily's innocent face peeking through the darkness, her features illuminated by a soft glow. "Mommy!" the little girl's voice rang out, mixing with the grotesque laughter that surrounded Sarah, drowning in the terrible weight of this dark carnival. "What do you want from me?" Sarah shouted, her voice barely a whisper beneath the chaos, the tears pricking at her eyes. "To know your sacrifice," the monstrous figure hissed. "To know your love. Are you willing to pay the price?" Every beat of her heart thudded in her chest, echoing the relentless pressure of time ticking away. She understood now she had to confront this horror head-on. But the price? That was the danger. Would it be her sanity? Her memories? Or perhaps something much more precious? Marissa's laughter rolled through the shadows, uniquely cruel and enticing. "Your journey begins with a trade, sweet Sarah. A snapshot of fear for the promise of light. Show me what haunts you." Sarah's breathing quickened. The memories flooded her, fierce and unrelenting: the day she lost her husband, the way she had buried herself in work to escape the pain, the nights she'd spent waiting for Lily to return home. Each regret stung like acid, every mistake a tether drawing her closer to the abyss. "Enough!" she screamed, her voice reverberating through the cavernous darkness, shaking the very walls of this prison. "Then confront the truth," Marissa taunted, stepping back slightly, the shadows at her command swirling playfully. Taking a deep breath, Sarah closed her eyes and let the fear wash over her, not resisting it but allowing it to become part of her. "I'm not afraid anymore." The words felt like a mantra, rallying a force within. As she opened her eyes, she saw the grotesque figure falter for a brief moment, confusion flaring in its malevolent eyes. In that fleeting instant of hesitation, she took a step forward. "What if I sacrifice the pain? What if I sacrifice?" A dark shriek pierced the air, cutting her off. "You're not willing to trade." The shadows recoiled as if struck, swirling into a frenzy. "No!" she shouted defiantly, realizing it wasn't the sacrifice of memories she needed to make, but the acceptance of her love, a love unwavering, even in the face of this darkness. Suddenly, the air crackled, and with an intensity that rattled her bones, Sarah declared, "I will not exchange my love for fear. My love is my weapon." The monstrous figure surged again, driven by rage and desperation. But Sarah stood firm, drawing on all her strength, each remembrance of Lily empowering her. In that moment, the shadows shifted, revealing glimpses of light, a pathway carved through the darkness. It pulsed in rhythm with her heartbeat, beckoning her forward, igniting a flicker of hope deep within her. "Lily!" she called again with renewed vigor, rushing toward the light. The shadows twisted violently around her, but the promise of her daughter's safety pulled her through. Just as she was on the brink of that luminous path, the grotesque figure lunged, clawing at her, teeth gleaming in the dim light. With a fierce resolve, Sarah leapt forward, ready to embrace whatever awaited her. Would it lead to salvation or doom? Would she pull Lily from the depths, or be consumed by the darkness forever? Heart racing, Sarah pressed onward, ready to face whatever horror lurked ahead. What waited for her on the other side? Would love prevail, or was this all part of an even darker design? The light was blinding as Sarah surged through, her heart pounding wildly in her chest. It felt as if she was ripping through the fabric of the dark carnival, leaving the grotesque figure behind in a swirling storm of shadows. But light could be deceptive. She found herself in a barren landscape, devoid of color, a stark contrast to the vibrant chaos she had just escaped. The air was thick, heavy with a silence that pressed down on her like a weight. There were no signs of life, just endless stretches of gray earth under a churning sky. It was disorienting. "Lily!" she called, but her voice echoed back at her in a distorted mockery. Panic prickled at the edges of her resolve. Then she saw it, a flicker of movement. A tiny figure darting between the shadows, delicate and fleeting. "Mommy!" It was unmistakably her daughter's voice, clear and bright, cutting through the gloom like a knife. Sarah's heart soared and plummeted in equal measure. "Lily!" she shouted again, squinting against the oppressive light, trying to catch another glimpse of her, but the figure was gone, and with it, the fragile hope she momentarily clung to began to slip away. The silence returned, more suffocating than before. "Face the truth, Sarah," a voice hissed, slithering into her mind. The ground beneath her trembled, as if the very earth recognized her fear. "What are you willing to confront to save your daughter?" Memories flooded her consciousness, vivid and painful. The warmth of Lily's laugh, the heart-wrenching moment she realized she might never hear it again. Each memory was a dagger, forcing her to relive the loss, the guilt, and the shadows of regret she had tried to keep buried. "No!" The denial burst forth, a primal scream that reverberated across the empty expanse. Yet the soothing whisper returned, seductive and haunting. "To win, you must face your demons. Embrace them. Only then will you be free." Tears streamed down Sarah's face as she wrestled with her heart. Could she really confront the truth? The thought made her throat tighten painfully. What if that truth exposed failure she couldn't bear to acknowledge? But then she heard it, Lily's voice again, softer now, like a distant call. "Mommy, please." The plea wrapped around Sarah's heart, squeezing so tightly it hurt. With a surge of adrenaline, she summoned every ounce of strength she had left. "I'll do it," she whispered, steeling herself against the torrent of grief that rose within. "I will face the truth." The ground beneath her vibrated in response, shifting and reshaping until it formed a misty spiral, drawing her down into its core. The air thickened with shadows again, but this time, she didn't resist. She plunged into the darkness willingly, acceptance mingling with desperation. As she descended, the shadowy figures began to solidify, taking on familiar shapes and faces. Friends, family, and even strangers from her past emerged from the dark, each one a reminder of her unresolved wounds. They swirled around her, an echoing chorus of sorrow. "Why didn't you save us?" one shadow asked, its voice a mix of rage and sorrow. "I did my best," she shouted, feeling her strength waver. With horror, she realized that some of their faces were twisted in anger, accusing her for things she hadn't been able to prevent. "Mommy, I'm scared." Lily's voice broke through the din. Sarah's heart splintered at the sound. "Stop!" she cried out, feeling the weight of each accusation and sorrow tighten the shadows around her. "I did everything. I loved you. I love you still." In that moment of realization, a deafening silence fell. The shadows halted, everything suspended on the cusp of release. Then, a single light flickered ahead, illuminating a figure standing bravely in the center of the darkness. It was Lily, but older now, with a wisdom that should have belonged to someone much older than her years. "Mommy, you have to let go," she said softly, her voice wrapping around Sarah like a comforting blanket, warm and firm. "Only then can we be free." But was she ready? What would it mean to let go? Sarah stood frozen, gripped by the choice that now lay before her, one that could shatter the bonds holding her to the pain she had known or seal them forever. Would she dare to release her fears, her regrets, her guilt? Would surrender bring her closer to her daughter or drive them further apart? Caught in the balance of love and loss, Sarah edged closer, knowing the truth awaited her, and the shadows around her whispered, waiting for her answer. Sarah's heart thundered like an ominous drum, echoing in the stillness of the void around her. As she stared at the older version of Lily, her mind raced with questions. Each pulse sent a wave of anxiety crashing over her. The shadows loomed, breathing in the silence, eagerly anticipating her next move. "Let go." The words lingered in the air, heavy with an unspoken promise. But what would letting go entail? Would it mean abandoning the memories of laughter shared and the warmth of Lily's small hands in hers? "Mommy, please." Lily's voice was a gentle sound, but it tempted the edges of desperation. "You have to trust me." Every fiber in Sarah's being screamed against that trust, but she found herself inching closer to her daughter. "Trust you?" Sarah's voice quivered. She had clung to control, to every moment she thought she'd missed or failed. What if that trust is misplaced? What if letting go means losing you forever? But when Lily stepped forward, the shadows retreated at her approach. The light radiated from her, warm and illuminating. It was an unexpected contrast that made Sarah feel both comforted and fearful. "Mommy, look around you." Lily gestured to the dark figures circling like vultures. They continued to watch, but now their faces morphed into expressions of longing instead of anger. The rage dissolved into something softer, almost sad. "Each of them is a part of you," Lily continued, her voice steady. "They're echoes of your past, your pain, your guilt. It's okay to confront them. They won't hurt you if you embrace them." As she gazed at the figures, Sarah recognized a few of them. Friends lost to time, decisions that haunted her. Each shadow carried weight: fear of failure, lost opportunities, the crushing burden of choices made or not made. "I can't," she stammered, feeling the pressure building again. "What if I face these memories and they consume me?" "You're stronger than you know, Mommy." Lily's words wrapped around Sarah's heart. She could feel the warmth radiating from her daughter, touching the darkest corners of her soul. "Together, we can face them. Please, trust me." Taking a deep breath, Sarah clenched her fists. The urge to retreat surged, but she fought it down. It was a familiar feeling, the urge to run from discomfort, to escape the shadows. But with a single glance at Lily's tender gaze, she straightened up, ready to confront what lurked deeper in the darkness. One by one, she stepped toward the figures, each representing a part of her she wished to forget. The first figure whispered words of reproach, carrying the weight of memory, the close friend she lost touch with, their last words echoing far longer than necessary. Instead of flinching away, Sarah approached it, allowing herself to feel the sting of regret. "I'm sorry I let you go," she said, her voice trembling but resolute. "I should have fought harder to keep you in my life." The figure nodded, its anger dissolving into understanding. The second figure was a haunting silhouette, the face of a loved one she failed to save. Heartache reverberated in her chest as she faced it. "I didn't know how to help you," she breathed, tears spilling down her cheeks, cleansing her heart just a little. With each confession, the shadows softened, their once sharp edges fading into a mist. "Keep going, Mommy," Lily urged, her bright eyes sparkling with encouragement. "Feel your truth." More figures gathered, all asking for acknowledgement. Each step was a mix of terror and relief, each confrontation releasing a part of the weight she'd carried for too long. Sarah was surprised at how these memories, while painful, didn't destroy her. Instead, they transformed, morphing into lessons learned and love understood, but just as she began to breathe easier, a darker presence stirred among the figures, one that radiated a chilling intensity. A silhouette cloaked in shadow, eyes shimmering with cruelty, and an unmistakable sense of fear washed over her. "Not every truth is kind, Sarah," it hissed, beckoning her with a sickening familiarity. "Are you sure you want to confront this?" Sarah froze, paralyzed by the specter of her past regrets second-guessing her resolve. She felt the shadows close in, wrestling against her decision. Did she dare to step toward this figure, this embodiment of all she had wrought? The chilling words wrapped around her heart like a vice. "Mommy, please don't hesitate." Lily's voice broke through the suffocating darkness, a reminder of everything she had fought for. With a determination ignited by love, Sarah stepped forward, ready to confront whatever this final truth was, but as she did, the shadow shifted, transforming into an overwhelming vortex of darkness. "Come closer, Sarah, if you truly want to be free." In that moment, Sarah teetered on the edge of the abyss, battling with the decision that could change everything. Would confrontation lead to liberation? Or would it be the surrender that destroyed them all? As the vortex expanded, ready to swallow her whole, Sarah could hear her own heartbeat, rapid and desperate, echoing the final countdown to either salvation or despair. The choice loomed, and all Sarah could think was, which path would she choose to take? The air around Sarah twisted with energy, dark and potent. She stood at the precipice, where shadows converged, a malevolent force resonating through the air. As tendrils of darkness reached for her, her instincts screamed to retreat. But Lily's presence anchored her, pure, steadfast even in the face of encroaching dread. "Stay with me, Mommy," Lily urged, her voice light as a feather yet carrying the weight of mountains. "We're almost there. You have to face it." Sarah's breath quickened, a physical response to the growing pull of the vortex. Memories, twisted and sharp, flickered like flames before her eyes. The specter spoke again, its voice a hiss laced with mockery. "You can't hide anymore, Sarah. Not from me, and not from yourself." Dread clamped down on Sarah's chest, but she steeled herself. What had once been her weakness, her reluctance to confront the truth, now felt like the key to her liberation. No more running. In resisting, she had given power to shadows that thrived on fear. It was time to take back that power. "Mommy, remember who you are." Lily's cry was a beacon, piercing through the dark with an intensity that beckoned Sarah to remember her strength. With a shuddering gasp, she lunged forward into the vortex, propelled by a mix of fear and fierce love. The darkness roared, a chaotic whirlwind enveloped her, threatening to strip away her very essence. Temptations to submit swirled around her, whispering promises of relief from pain. The silhouettes loomed closer, their faces morphing into the people Sarah once knew, the echoes of her life. Among them were friends she distanced herself from, the laughter turned to silence, and the warmth of their memories now tainted with guilt. Anguish coiled around her heart as she locked eyes with a figure cloaked in deep despair. "I let you down," she gasped, "I should have been there. I should have fought harder." Instead of rejection, the figure stepped forward, forming into the loving face of her sister, once vibrant and now shadowed by regret. "Sarah, I forgive you," it whispered, and the sound itself felt like a balm. The light from Lily brightened, cascading over them like newfound hope. Yet, the vortex twisted viciously, the dark figure looming closer, even angrier. "You think forgiveness will save you? You've contributed to your own damnation." Every word cut deep, leaving a raw gash in Sarah's heart. She could feel the heaviness of her unresolved guilt manifesting as an icy grip around her soul. But as the shadows pushed harder, something began to shift. Each painful confrontation peeled away layers of her burden, each admission turned the memories into less oppressive forms. "I made mistakes, I lost you, but I did my best," Sarah shouted defiantly, the sound reverberating against the cacophony of noise surrounding her. "Was your best enough?" The figure jeered, but this time, there was a softness behind the harshness. A flicker of familiarity. "Look deeper." The depths of the vortex spun wildly, drawing her memories closer, swirling together. Faces contorted in anguish, alongside those radiant with love and understanding. Realization crashed over Sarah like a wave. She needed to embrace not only her regrets but also the joy that lived alongside them. Trembling yet resolute, she inhaled deeply and began to speak. "I loved you. I loved every moment we shared, even the painful ones. I'll always fight for our memories, for all of you." Suddenly, the shadows hesitated, the vortex's grip shifting ever so slightly. In her admission, there was a spark of hope ignited. A shimmer in the darkness. "Mommy, you can do it." Lily encouraged, her voice breaking through the chaos, tenacious and bright. As Sarah pressed on, pouring herself into her words, it felt as if her very essence began to illuminate the chilling void. The chorus of shadowy figures halted, their expressions shifting from anger to surprise, confusion to compassion. However, dark chaos swirled menacingly at the edges, determined to swallow her whole. The battle wasn't over yet. Just as she felt a glimmer of victory, the cloaked figure lunged, its shadowy tendrils aiming for her throat. Sarah's heart froze, grappling with the unthinkable moment that might shatter everything she had fought to reclaim. "Mommy!" Lily screamed, reaching desperately for her mother, but the force of the dark figure surged, an echo of her deepest fears. Sarah stood paralyzed, caught between what she had let go and what she desperately wished to hold on to. The truth loomed over her, tremors of dread reverberating through her. As the shadows lurked, waiting, she thought. Could facing this last fragment of her pain save her? Or would it seal her fate, dragging everyone she loved into the abyss with her? A decision lay ahead, more potent than any she had faced. With a deep breath, armed with a heart that felt both heavy and light, she prepared for the final confrontation. What would happen next? In that moment of uncertainty, as darkness edged closer, what choice would she dare to make? In the suffocating swirl of darkness that threatened to engulf her, Sarah felt a surge of determination ripple through every fiber of her being. It was now or never. The boundaries of fear that had held her captive twisted into an opportunity, a chance to reclaim not only her daughter but the love that had always been there, waiting patiently beneath the surface. "Enough!" she cried, a new fierceness rising within her. "You don't scare me." The shadows recoiled for just a moment, hesitating in the face of her sudden clarity. The swirling vortex paused, and the monstrous figure faltered, that twisted smile wavering for the briefest instant. This was her moment. "Lily!" she shouted, locking onto her daughter's light, which shone dimly through the oppressive fog. "I will fight for you. I will face whatever this darkness holds." With purpose, she advanced toward the looming specter, her heartbeat synchronizing with the rhythm of the shadows. As she moved forward, the figures surrounding her began to shift and transform. The faces that once expressed anger now took on softer features, as if drawn back from the brink of despair. Sarah felt the support of each memory empowering her, merging into a chorus of strength. "Mom! You can do it!" Lily's voice echoed, buoying her resolve. "Face me!" hissed the dark figure. "You'll pay the ultimate price for your love." But even as those words cut through the air, Sarah was flooded with a realization: love was her greatest weapon. She drew on the warmth of memories, the laughter, tears, struggles, and triumphs that stitched her life's tapestry. "I embrace it all," she shouted, her voice bellowing through the shadows. "All of it. The joy, the sorrow, the regrets. I won't hide from you anymore." With those words, the atmosphere shifted. The dark figure roared, twisting into a rage that reverberated throughout the factory, but Sarah stood her ground. I am not defined by my fears. I am defined by my love. As she finished speaking, an eruption of light burst from her core, illuminating the shadows like the first rays of dawn breaking through a long night. The dark figure shrieked as the radiant energy washed over it, unraveling the clutches of despair it had held onto so tightly. No. It howled. Your love can't save you. But it could. The shadows, once so menacing, began to flicker and dissolve, revealing the familiar faces of those Sarah had lost, their expressions soft, their smiles infectious. Forgiveness glimmered in their eyes, reflecting back the bravery Sarah had summoned. Embrace your love. They encouraged, their voices blending into a beautiful symphony that pushed back against the suffocating void. It's stronger than any darkness. With her heart aflame and every ounce of her spirit aligned, Sarah charged towards the flickering darkness. The grotesque figure reeled, its form twisting and animalistic. You cannot escape me. It spat, but Sarah was unfazed. I'm not running anymore. In that moment, a light burst forth in a brilliant display, washing over everything. The tendrils of darkness shattered apart like glass, splintering in all directions. The air crackled, from suffocating heaviness to vibrant warmth. Sarah felt herself pulled into a whirlwind of colors and voices echoing her own. Mommy. Lily's voice broke through the blissful chaos, crystalline and melodic. When the blinding light finally settled, Sarah found herself standing in a space resembling a serene meadow, a heavenly sight that went on forever, illuminated by sun-kissed skies and lush greenery. A place of healing, she whispered, breathless, spinning around her surroundings. And there, glowing softly amidst the beauty, stood Lily, a radiant smile on her face. Mommy! Her daughter exclaimed, arms outstretched, the shadows of despair evaporating into nothingness. You did it! You saved me! Tears brimmed in Sarah's eyes as she rushed forward, enveloping Lily in an embrace that felt like home. I'll always fight for you, she promised, planting kisses on Lily's forehead. Comprehension washed over her, love was the ultimate salvation, a force neither darkness nor despair could ever extinguish. As they stood together, the landscape pulsated with serene energy, a testament to Sarah's victory against the darkness of the factory. The burdens she carried began to lift, replaced with a deep sense of peace as the whispers of regret faded into the breeze. We can move on now, Lily said, her voice tinged with excitement. Together they turned to glimpse the horizon stretching beyond the graveyard of shadows and despair, filled with endless possibilities. The darkness had been conquered, revealing the resilience of love, an unbreakable bond. As they walked hand in hand into the warmth of a new beginning, Sarah realized that even in the face of terror, love would always lead the way. The two figures began to dissolve into the radiant light, leaving behind the twisted remnants of the past as they stepped into the embrace of a brighter future. Sarah took a deep breath, finally free, fully alive, an indomitable spirit reborn. If you loved this gripping conclusion and want to dive into more spine-tingling tales, you need to subscribe now. This is the moment to show your support for the channel. Don't wait even one more second. Smash that like button now and feed the algorithm so that more incredible stories can reach your eager ears. And flood the comments section with your thoughts, reactions, and theories about this wild ending. Finally, share this video with at least 5 friends who need to experience this epic conclusion. Your support makes all the difference, so let us keep this wave of chilling stories rolling.